Tonight, we talk Mysterio, mysterious video games, and we bid adieu to our own Mysterio, Michael X. Shirley. Marvel TV Weekly starts now!
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
That's right. Welcome to Marvel TV Weekly. And here we are. It is indeed the finale for Michael Z. Shirley, who is seated next to me. Actually, it's Michael X. Shirley. He's just... Sometimes the Z is silent. We've got a lot to talk about, but it's a bittersweet occasion because, Michael, you're leaving us.
I am, but I've got a little beat I'm going to be covering for you guys.
And we'll talk a little bit later in the episode about what you'll be covering remotely for us. In addition to Michael Shirley, it is the birthday girl, Amy Cassandra Martinez.
Yes, that is me. I am she. I'm a year older, maybe wiser. I don't know.
We'll find out throughout the course of the next 40 minutes or so. And Kari Lane.
What's up?
So much to talk about. And we will start with the news. And the first item in the news, and yes, these are some Marvel movie news items. And might as well use this opportunity to mention that our friend Amy also is on the Popcorn Talk Network's Marvel Movie News. We will talk about some movie news. Maybe they talked about it already. Maybe they'll talk about it this week. But the first thing is that it is news about the Captain Marvel movie, which I was this close to calling the Ms. Marvel movie, because Carol Danvers is Ms. Marvel. And we have the announcement that her mother, Maria Danvers, a character who is established in the comic book Marvel universe, will be played by Annette Bening. So I like this sort of casting, like having Sigourney Weaver in The Defenders. You know, when you get these just well-established actresses or actors, for that matter, in there. We'll just quickly talk about this. Gut reaction when you hear this, Michael. What do you think about Annette Bening playing Captain Marvel's mama?
The first thing I said to you was, I wish it was Gina Davis.
Gina Davis is great. I love Gina Davis. I think that more people should watch Cutthroat Island if they get a chance. So that's the end of it for you.
But, no, it's fine. Yeah.
What do you think of this news, Amy Cassandra Martinez?
I think it's cool, but now that you said Gina Davis.
That's all you can see, right?
Know, yeah.
Yes. But hey, good for her. She's a rock star. Ready for it.
Kari, what do you think Gina Davis is doing that made her unavailable for this role?
That's a very good question.
Cutthroat Island 2.
Exorcist.
Thelma
Like 5.
Louise 2.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, what do you think about, sort of they kind of sprinkle these movies with, as always, established actors with a capital A, right?
Well, the question is it more to bring some depth to the film in terms of we have, they're skilled, been around, and, been in so many amazing films too. Or is it also a name to bring people in? Because then they're like, oh, it's so-and-so, especially if they're not maybe as into superhero movies. Be like, oh, I like that actor. I want to go check them out.
Yeah, I think they have to have like a token A-lister.
Yeah, it's like how Forrest Whitaker's in Black Panther is a perfect example. It's just like, let's just put somebody in there.
Angela Bassett, too, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
Or like Michael Douglas in Ant-Man,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
That's
these are
okay.
all good examples.
Yeah.
Nailed
Nailed it.
And you nailed it.
Yay.
Yes, that is in the booth. That is Tony B. Tony B. Alive _ Anyway, the next item on the newswire is very Mysterio, but not mysterious. There are reports that Jake Gyllenhaal. Some people say Gyllenhaal, but I think it's Gyllenhaal.
No one says that.
I've heard it that way.
They're saying it wrong.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All
Someone
right.
who only reads.
That makes more sense. Jake Gyllenhaal is in talks to play Mysterio in the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, for your nerd comic book readers like myself, Mysterio is very well known, first appearing in Amazing Spider-Man number 13. So Anthony has a picture where we see him. Can you pull up a photo? It doesn't have to be the one that I emailed,
Fishbowl.
but I would like to see. Yeah, there it is. That's actually the first appearance of Mysterio from Amazing Spider-Man number 13 for those watching on YouTube. And he's got the big fishbowl head. And in fact, Spider-Man would call him Fishbowl Head. And he's actually, I was going to call him a really mysterious character, but he is. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be corny. And it's such an interesting look. I will be very disappointed if they don't give him the Fishbowl Head. What do you think?
I would be
Michael?
livid. I'd
Thank
be
you.
so
I
mad.
have several thoughts about this. I really like Jake Gyllenhaal, so
Agreed.
I think that's cool that he's interested. But it's kind of like the whole Tom Hardy thing with Venom. It's like, why are you going to put someone who's going to cost your studio so much money in a costume where you can't even really see them? Like, to have Mysterio, you know, he's like a crystal ball for a head. You can't, like, see a face. So, I don't know. I think it's strange. Are you want to... I feel like when Topher Grace was Venom, and like you want to get someone that's like not quite as expensive for like an actor that you can't really see them. I don't know. I don't know if that's a great money choice.
And it's great to finally see Jake Gyllenhaal in a Spider-Man movie because the studio used him as leverage when Tobey Maguire was, I think, looking for a pay raise in, I believe, Spider-Man 2. And they were like, we're going to just go ahead and replace you with Jake Gyllenhaal. And I feel like, Amy, you probably would have been okay with that. Because I don't think you like Tobey Maguire.
I do not.
See? I knew it.
I've actually never met him. But he
You know what? By the way, neither have I.
Okay. So
None of the people we've talked about tonight have I
me
met.
neither.
Although I met Mysterio once, but just in my dreams.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well,
Or
actually,
not.
it was
No,
terrible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I just don't like his rendition of Spider-Man. It just pains me so much.
But see, the sad thing is, it wasn't horrible when it first came out because
No.
and it was good. The first one was.
Yeah, the second one with
Second.
Doc Ock, I think, is one of the best superhero movies.
Yeah,
Just
it
period.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Doc
You know what,
Ock is-
Anthony? If you agree with me, obviously you can talk more.
Oh my
I
god.
love the second movie, the second
do.
Spider-Man movie
Yeah.
with Doc Ock. Like the way they built Doc Ock's character and everything was fantastic, and it's something that Marvel, they haven't gotten it down. Well, they just recently started getting it down, like with their recent movies. But like that's a great example of how to build a villain up, and then have him redeem himself at the end too was fantastic.
He was nasty. So disgusting. Which
What,
was
Doc
fantastic.
Ock? Yeah, well, that's
Yes.
certainly what you want.
Of
you know?
course.
Anyway, so are you intrigued at the idea that Jake Gyllenhaal would be Mysterio? Is that something that you feel like you can sign up for?
I mean, yeah, I see your point, Michael. But I wonder if also they're looking for really good actors that can act their way through a fishbowl head. It's like, it's the voice, it's the mannerisms, it's everything that maybe they wouldn't really trust inexperienced actors, or not as experienced, which I get. And maybe just bringing in people that are huge Jake Gyllenhaal fans.
Carrie, do those still exist?
I was about
Huge
to
Jake
say
Gyllenhaal
that.
fans. I
know.
mean, 10 years ago,
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
Cold Mountain.
I mean,
No,
True.
he's not in Cold Mountain.
I went to one of them. My friend
Brokeback
has Jake Fest parties.
Wait, your friend has Jake Fest parties?
Still?
I'm
You
not
are lying to me right now.
They exist, guys.
Are there cardboard cutouts?
That's
great
intense.
idea.
I only went to one where marathon Jake Gyllenhaal movies.
Which were?
We saw Bubble Boy. Which
Oh,
actually
it's
is
a
really
good one, yeah.
Great
And I had
piece
never
of
seen
cinema.
it. Yeah.
It is good. Yeah.
What else?
Donnie
did we watch?
Darko.
Yeah.
You guys, I love Donnie Darko.
The one with Jennifer
Vincent Time?
Aniston and the blueberries.
But yeah, it's
That's a
just,
good one.
there are people that are very big fans. I don't know if it's like, I mean, he's gotten older that he's not quite the young lady's main heartthrob as much now, but I still think there's people that really like his stuff.
Well, it's kind of like how, the New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys can still go out on tour.
Yeah.
Because you were young once.
Yeah,
And you
you're like,
still
I
love
love
those
them
things
then,
from
I
when you
still
were
love them
young.
now,
So
yeah,
it's good.
yeah.
I think that Jake Gyllenhaal is going to basically sort of be there for the moms. Be like, oh, I'm going to get a babysitter and go and see that Spider-Man movie.
And Tony, there were T-shirts.
Oh, for Jake Fest.
Wow.
We need to
Wow.
see
Do
these.
you still have one?
I think I still have one.
Oh
All
my
right, if you can
God.
find it, please share
So
it.
I
with
will.
us.
Wear
I
it.
still have
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Another item in the news for someone who people thought was cute 15 years ago. Orlando Bloom reportedly is a fan of the Marvel Universe and the Marvel movies. He's interested in playing Captain Britain. That's why I took
You
this.
have talked about that character before.
I have, indeed. And there are two versions of Captain Britain. The one that you're seeing right now on YouTube is the really cool look that he had when he was with Excalibur. That's a great, it's like, okay, if you have Captain America, it looks like the American flag. He looks like the Union Jack. Now, Anthony, flip to the, that's the OG Captain Britain, where his hair was out, and he had the lion.
That hair.
Yeah.
I think the hair, though.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when the hair,
gorgeous
like,
hair.
it's
I
just
just
the
don't
hair.
like the blue part on
Yeah.
the mask.
Not
Right.
very British.
I mean,
So
no,
he
I
has the
get...
Union Jack on his wrist.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. I
Wow.
think it just has the Union Jack on his wrist. I don't know. I, for one, am excited at the idea, and I feel like Captain Britain is a character that we should get. I expect us to get. Michael, you know what an affinity I have for Excalibur. How do you feel about there being a Captain Britain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Not excited. Amy, do you think that there should also, because you didn't recognize anything, there's also a Canadian superhero team named Alpha Flight, so should we get like all the,
Yeah.
should we...
I'm not Amy, but I was.
It's all right, but no, you're agreeing. Should we get all the superheroes from all the different countries just well represented?
Yes, but I think it's kind of weird that Orlando Bloom just kind of wants to join in. I cannot think of the last thing that he did. I really I can't remember. So I think that maybe all of these
Pirates.
actors.
He was in one of the Pirates
God, that
sequels,
was
right?
forever ago.
But
He's
he was
in,
in
like,
one of them.
all of
Sort of
them.
recently, I believe.
Oh wait, he was a little bit in the last one.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay.
But
I mean,
he's-
he's in more of them.
Sounds like he's asking for a bone for them
Yeah.
to throw at
Isn't
him.
he like
Wait.
dating Katy Perry again? So now he's like back
Again?
in the
Really?
Yeah.
like back in the media. People are paying attention. I
You
guess,
just
again.
confirmed this news to me.
Yeah, I heard
what?
that. I
It's been a
heard
crazy
this.
week, hasn't it?
Yes. What? I did not know. This.
Yeah. Well, look. Anybody who's seen the pictures of Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom on the boat know why she might go back to him. That's all I'll say. But
I don't know.
Oh,
but
whoa.
well,
So
when
that's
you
why
look
he's
for
gonna
the
He
be
was
Captain
naked.
Britain.
nudes.
look, I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not Orlando is in full bloom. But
Oh!
Zing.
thank you. I'm glad somebody enjoyed that.
Here's the thing. I
Yes.
think people are trying to hop on this whole Marvel bandwagon because they're like, hey, I
Yes.
think they're doing pretty well.
Money, money,
Hi,
money.
I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yes.
I would also be happy to play Captain Britain if anybody asked.
I feel like you look more like him.
I look more British.
Orlando Bloom is way too scrawny to be Captain Britain.
Well,
he
just
needs to
think
be
of
like.
that.
Levy bulking up for Shazam. He
Yeah.
can maybe bulk up too.
That's true. You know,
I still see him as an elf.
I would want to see someone with the same body type.
as Brian Braddock, Captain
Who-
Britain.
Well,
That's his
who
name.
Well-
do you guys? Like, off
Yeah.
the top of your head.
Not
Well, I want to see someone with a body type like Steve Rogers, to be Captain Britain. I don't
Oh,
know.
gosh.
What? What are you
see it.
laughing at?
Well, because she's got the picture.
Well,
there.
now I had
Oh,
to go look.
stop it. Oh, whoa.
So now you're not gonna be able to
It's
concentrate.
blurred out anyways.
So yes, somebody that's built like Steve Rogers, somebody that's basically
Yeah.
representing their country.
Or like Thor. Like, they're all really big guys. You
Yeah.
can't have Captain Britain, like,
Be
looking
lean
like
muscle?
Cirque du Soleil or something.
It's a
You
great
know.
point. Let us know in the chat if you have any thoughts about Orlando Bloom being Captain Britain, or if you'd like someone else. Another item from the movieverse, but this is the Fox movies. X-Men Dark Phoenix is likely to drop the word X-Men from the title, and it'll just be Dark Phoenix with the X for X-Men and the X for Michael Z. Shirley. That'll also be there. It's just for us sometimes, the jokes. But I think it'll be pretty cool. But this led to a whole conversation before the show. Michael, your ultimate problem is you're just not
Jean.
into Sophie Turner as Jean, right?
No, she's like, for sure, my all-time favorite comic book character. So I'm going to be holding the standards pretty high. I feel like she looks way too young to be going through that arc.
For the Dark
Yeah.
Phoenix arc, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like I was saying earlier, like a 30-year-old woman should be playing. My problem with Famke Janssen was I felt like she was way too old. Like, it was never like Scott was like she was like Jean was a cougar. Like, and like Scott's like 20 in the X-Men films and she's like 45. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I don't know. my choice, which you think is out of this world, crazy stupid, Christina Hendricks. I would love to see her as Jean.
You just finished talking about Orlando Bloom being the wrong body type for a superhero. I love Christina Hendricks. She's very talented. She is not the right body type for a superhero.
She is like the
Yeah.
hourglass, like.
Okay, so the shirt's gonna fit her right, but she's not built like a superhero.
I do not know much about comics, but I have seen a lot of Jean, like comic book body type thing, and I think
what
she
is
could
not
kill it.
comic? She's like got the most comic book body I've ever
Exactly.
seen.
They always
like,
draw
maybe
them
lose,
like bam,
Yeah.
like hello hourglass.
But this isn't what our superheroes,
That is
our
like-
superheroines are built like now.
That is like a J. Scott Campbell fantasy right there.
Totally agree with you, Michael.
I'm just saying I disagree, but if
Not
she were,
skinny enough for you.
that's right. That's my problem.
It's also my fantasy, just you know.
Well,
I
thank you.
think she's gorgeous and her body is gorgeous. But I'm with Christian that I'm like, it's not what I think of, because yes, they make comic book women very curvy, unrealistically curvy, but generally
Yeah.
a lot of them are very long
Yes.
body, like very tall, with like these impossibly small waists and wide hips. So it's more like, not like she needs to be skinnier, but she's just I would imagine a little more petite and some more muscle too, because Jean, it's the impossible, like, yeah, they got ripped arms and
Yeah.
they have abs, but they have like full C-cup boobs and like wide hip. There are some, like, okay, we talked about it before a little bit, like Angelina Jolie when she first did like the Terminator movies. I was like, yeah, because she was curvy but muscular. That I go, that could be a superhero. So if it's someone like that, Christina Hendricks, I think, is more curvy than that. So then it's just a hair too much. But I'd be curious to see that.
They would need a really big Scott.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like a
Orlando
big
Bloom.
dude, like an
She would
actual
dwarf-
man.
Yeah.
not
John
a wig.
Cena.
Orlando Bloom could not play
Yes.
Scott in that movie,
No.
and yes, John Cena would actually be
You'd
perfect.
be great Scott.
Great Scott.
I mean, he'd be built
You
right
know what?
for Cyclops.
Also,
but
like for men in comics, they're impossibly huge, buff, 6'7" tall. Like they're not really that tall, but that's how they look.
Or-
and their shoulders and pecs are so
even
big.
even when they're little, like if you looked at an image
Yeah.
of Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine from the first one, from the
Yeah.
2000 X-Men, and you look at him from not Logan because he's older, but from the Wolverine,
ripped.
you're like, it's insane, like how different the standard changed.
Yeah.
Well, that's another one for those of you in the chat. Let us know who you would like to see as Jean, and am I wrong? Should it be Christina Hendricks? Because if Christina Hendricks is Jean in a movie, I will be there. If Orlando Bloom played Jean in a movie, I would also be there. So really, there's no problem because I'm gonna go. They're gonna get my money anyway, so I'm gonna see the movie. An interesting little side bit of news, according to an interview with Sci-Fi Wire, when they were putting together the Infinity War, they considered putting Luke Cage and some of the Netflix heroes in there, but then they felt like they weren't going to do them enough justice. It was going to be too quick, and
That's
to that
exactly what you suggested
I
they
was
should
just,
be.
I was like, look, there's not
I
time for
agree.
them.
No, like you said, you're like, can we have a moment where they just like look up at like, oh, something went overhead.
Yeah.
I would be happy.
That's all I wanted.
Like
I
a
would
Stan Lee
totally
type of thing.
agree. Yes,
Yeah.
just a quick cameo to insert them in that world, and that would be fine.
Because there's a whole thing going on in Hell's Kitchen. Doesn't have anything to do with Thanos. But if something crazy is going on in the sky, be like, well, would you look at that? And
Yep.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Even Foggy.
Foggy.
Like
Yeah.
one character from that universe go, huh, that's weird. Then that's it. It'd be nice to
Madam
connect.
Gao?
Yeah.
Could it be Madam Gao looking up?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Give a
See?
smile
yeah.
or like,
Because then you're really
Yeah.
rewarded for watching the shows. Because
Yeah.
if you don't watch the shows, but you see Luke Cage, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's the guy who plays Luke Cage. Maybe I'll watch that.
So far, the only tie we have is that Steve Rogers doll.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But this led to my thoughts on a different article from Screen Rant, and we will not do any because this is Marvel TV Weekly. We're not gonna give any spoilers about the new Star Wars movie, which is called Solo, a Star Wars story. But there's an article about it that says it points out that the Star Wars movies respect Star Wars TV shows, unlike Marvel. So, case in point, in the movie Rogue One, which has now been out for a year and a half, so I feel like we can talk about it. Again, Forrest Whitaker, he's in there playing a character from the Clone Wars animated series. And there may or may not be a character that shows up in this movie who you need to have watch those shows. So I like that. And this is exactly what I say all the time about the Marvel movies. We don't get our cameo from the Netflix heroes. We don't get Agent Coulson for even a second. And yes, Nick Fury was on an episode, and we had Lady Sif on once or whatever. You know, we had some things. But it's not... I just think that they don't respect the TV shows. And when you invest the time in the TV shows like we all do, we do a show about it. I feel like they should give a little bit more respect. RESPECT. That's what I'm saying. Michael, do you agree? Should the movies respect the TV shows?
I mean, we all want everything. You
Yes.
know, we'll all eat it all up. But to be fair, Marvel's like lexicon makes Star Wars look like a novella. Like,
It's
with
true.
so much history, so many characters, where Star Wars is like finally decided they're gonna like make new stories and new characters. So like, duh, they're gonna wrap them all in. And fans love that stuff. And I also feel with X-Men and the Avengers and Fantastic Four, you know how in Spider-Man, like all these things have different rights and everything, and it makes it confusing and expensive. So a lot of times they don't want to even bother, I feel, with like trying to interweave things, because it just makes more trouble and they don't even really need it. You know, they know that if we ever do get what we want, that'll just be even more reason for them to get applause. But I don't know. I think that's a cheap shot at Marvel, especially being that they're the same company.
Sure, but I mean, it's very easily accomplished that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Marvel Studio movies, you could have things from the Netflix shows, because those are also ABC Studios. You could have people from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Or in the X-Men movies, why not have Legion show up for a second? And you know, he's
That'd
like,
be cool.
you do something like that, you know?
Marvel's too
or
cool
you
for
know what
that.
you could do? You could have, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Andy Lauren from The Gifted show up in the Dark Phoenix movie.
Hey.
Doesn't that sound like a great idea, Michael?
I think it makes perfect sense.
That's exactly the answer that I knew you were thinking. I don't know. What do you think, Amy? Would this just be more fun, you know, or would it just make the movies too confusing?
No, I think it'd be more fun. I think there is kind of a big divide between movies and the TV shows, and I think sometimes people that love the films don't necessarily give enough credit to the TV people. You know, it's like, hey, while we're waiting for new movies to come out, we're watching all these TV shows. So I think it would be nice to bring them all together, and then also to give TV fans something to be like, hey guys, like we're all one big happy family. We are family, kind of a thing.
Also, real quick, can I just expand on what you said?
Sure.
Also Marvel in their movies respect the comic book readers enough to give them little caveats sprinkled throughout their films that specifically for comic book readers, if they read the comics, they pick up on those little Easter eggs, right? But for viewers of the television show at all, there's nothing for them there. There's nothing for them in the films, and it's pretty surprising coming from a studio who bouts that over 10 years they were able to implement all of these characters into this one movie, and they can't implement the TV characters that they've been building up for almost just as long into this one film that includes everyone. Like, it's a little, come on, like it's unfair. It's
money.
It should be expected though.
But once again, Anthony's agreeing with me, so it's very
Oh
well
my gosh,
stated.
how
So
exciting.
yeah.
Well, and also, I mean, if people love Marvel movies, I think they generally also love Marvel comics. What makes them think they wouldn't love Marvel TV? You know, just as long as
The
everyone
time
enjoys
commitment, I guess, is the one thing.
it. True.
Not everyone can binge 5 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in like a month, Amy. Only
Thank
someone
you.
specifically talented like you.
Well,
Thank you.
I was like tying Runaways into other things. That one didn't really get that much of a tie into the other.
It's true, yeah,
Universe.
and then that is the problem when, you know, that show's on Hulu, the other shows are on Netflix, some of them are on
Yeah.
ABC.
That's the problem, I think. It's just too many hands would be in
Yeah.
the pie.
Yeah.
Like, too much money, too many emails, too many phone calls,
Yeah.
too many agents, too much.
Kind of interesting casting choice. A couple. Xavier in the chat suggested Evan Rachel Wood as Jean Grey.
Yeah, I think she's probably
Maybe like a younger, like...
Yeah. Yeah, because what I was going to say about Sophie Turner is that she's the right age that if they were doing the original X-Men before, like the 5 original Angel, Cyclops, Iceman, Marvel Girl, I think I said them all. My apologies to anybody who didn't. But basically, when Iceman was still a snowman, if it was that team, then Sophie Turner's the right age.
She would be a great first class type.
Yeah,
option.
right, exactly. But so interesting. Please keep those coming in.
Yeah, I love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff you're gonna miss when you leave us, Michael.
I know.
Because you're not gonna watch this show when you leave.
Tony found a great redhead photo too.
Oh,
look at that!
Yeah,
see?
where I go. Oh, I see it more now.
You know what though? She looks more like Madeline Pryor there, as far as
Oh,
I'm concerned.
stop it! It's the same woman.
Oh, and by the way, when and I teased this last week, and we'll be using clips in the near future. When I spoke with Chris Claremont last weekend, I was speaking about a specific instance with Madeline Pryor, and he corrected me because at that point she was Madeline Summers. It was after they got married, and I was like, you know what, you're right.
You're such a name dropper, Christian.
It's the only name I can drop.
I got a really good name to drop right now. Want to have fun, learn, and grow in all areas of your life? For those who do, we have got the podcast for you. Conversations with Maria Menounos podcast edition is hosted by our AfterBuzz TV founder and drops every Friday on iTunes. Conversations with Maria Menounos features celebrity and influencer interviews along with secrets and tips on how to be better in all aspects of your life. From health and wellness to career, relationships, finances, and more, let our Maria be the big sister you've always wanted. Just go to iTunes and subscribe to Conversations with Maria Menounos for free. And be sure to rate and comment. And when you do, let Maria know it was Marvel TV Weekly who sent you there. Conversations with Maria Menounos, podcast edition. Check it out, you guys.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. And so does everyone. I'm sure Maria appreciates it too. All right, well, we've had a very spirited back and forth on all this stuff. Let us know. Keep commenting in the chat. Maybe we'll look back in before the end of the show. There's only one thing of Marvel TV that was on this week, and we're in that stretch right now where we're going to get just a couple episodes of Legion here and there, and then there will be a point where we also have Cloak and Dagger, but then it's going to just be Cloak and Dagger. Luke Cage is going to drop in our lap, and then we'll go back to Cloak and Dagger. So it's going to be a little lean through the summer, but we will still be here.
Did you know Amy has previewed Cloak and Dagger?
I did, but Kari, you were very excited, and I thought I thought you might have had an embolism or something. So please tell us.
No, I was just thinking I'm like, where is my Legion? Yes, we had Tim Boggs, who was the I forget the super official title.
He was
but
the sound ADR.
Thank you, supervisor.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
That's
so
very
he
cool.
came in and talked about it, especially in this episode. It's particular. We're talking about it now. The moment where the Vermilion Potatomy talk.
Yes.
He talks about how they layered that and how they brought one voice forward or not. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a great specific example. Also, I think this previous Legion episode has been my favorite of this whole season.
Whoa.
I was so excited watching this. I'm like, oh, everything about this episode made me so excited. There's the... I was like, did everybody?
We all watched it, and by the way,
we fluctuate. I know.
All the spoilers right now. In case you didn't watch Legion, be prepared to have something spoiled. I don't know what we could spoil right here.
There wasn't really
because it's just a little
spoilers on this
bit,
one.
but we're gonna talk about the whole episode. Yeah.
The ready, set, go moment. That music was so great. How it's shot was so good. It just felt so in it, and it was progressing forward and just interesting. It just had me pumped like the whole time, and so I was just super into it. I was very excited on this episode.
Amy, do you agree? Did you love this episode of Legion?
It was.
Be honest, Amy.
Yeah, what were you saying
feel,
before we
there are
started?
other people that feel that way too.
Started. Honesty hour. I am not a fan of Legion at all.
Is it
really.
too confusing?
What?
It's, what?
I think it's
What,
fair.
Tony,
you
you
should be
love
able
it?
to say that.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Totally.
When I watch something, I don't want to have to think too hard about it. I really don't. Like, if I want something intellectually stimulating, I will watch something else. I don't know what I would watch, but something else. Maybe, like a really intense documentary on Netflix.
Sure.
That's what I would watch.
Or like Planet Earth.
I mean, I guess. But I, like, honestly... But I do have to say that Legion is so gorgeous. So I appreciate that, and I think that's something that I can enjoy every single episode. And I think one little thing that's missing from every single episode, since my favorite one is the little freaking mouse.
The singing mouse.
Yes.
If only he would come back.
Exactly. Exactly. That's all I need. That's all I need. Well, but
And the John Hamm bit was so good in this one. The
It was.
cave allegory
Yeah.
to modern social media. I mean, yes, a lot of people. It's something we're all kind of coming to the same idea of that. But I felt they did it so well that I was like, yes, this.
And that was the entire act. So from the commercial break, they come back in and it's that, and then it ends and they go to the next commercial. That's the way I remember it anyway. And I thought that was like sort of a unique choice. But to Amy's point about Legion being beautiful, it is the most beautiful show to fall asleep to because you're so confused. I think my wife has officially given up on it because I watched like 6 episodes without her because of the show.
bit.
And she's just like, it's all right.
It was shot in near Santa Clarita. by
I
the way.
liked a lot of things in this episode, but this
Oh, it
is
was amazing.
another frustrating episode. What did you think, Michael?
Oh, I loved it when Sid drops down.
Yes.
Yes.
That
So
I
cool.
was like, it needed this little fun little. It was just like a
And she
little
like
bit
hits him.
Yeah,
I'm on your side.
That was one of the notes that I took. Was I loved the Sid David slap fight.
for
And-
me. Well,
go
sorry.
ahead. Well, go ahead.
For me, it's always been kind of like him chasing after her a little bit.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of seeing the pushback on her, and I'm
Yep.
starting to get like, oh, she really does care about him. She's not quite as like waspy as like she seems. But the thing that I really, really loved the most about this episode, not really sure if you caught on to it at the time, but when he's laying in that bath thing, which we keep seeing he's doing that more often.
Yeah.
You hear in his head him having a conversation with himself, like in different
The other
voices with
Davids.
different inflections, but you can tell it's the same actor. So I'm thinking maybe he's spending way too much time in this little bathtub, and that like that liquid or whatever that he has to put himself in is maybe messing with him. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that those little voices are going to manifest into separate personalities.
You know that's what I'm holding out hope for. There's a great moment you were talking about the Sid and David relationship, and sort of there was that great like therapy session with Clark, who honestly I was researching
He's
this.
getting
and
more interesting though too. I did not like him at first, but now I'm like, okay, you're actually kind of interesting.
it bothered me at the start of season 2 that he was there because he
It
was
was so weird.
such a major bad guy in season 1.
Yeah.
But the point that he makes, which is that basically the idea that he basically, if they have a breakup and it goes badly, David could destroy the world or the universe, by the way. Because, you know, there was concern in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that Quake would be the destroyer of worlds. David could be the destroyer of reality because of just how powerful he is. I mean, look at who his daddy is. I'm just saying.
Well, even also the do you think he lies?
Yeah.
That was interesting too.
It's interesting, and their relationship is in a really interesting place. It kind of really has accelerated with the, oh, did you get into a fight with future me? You know, and I just thought it was all really interesting.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome.
But to Amy's point, super confusing. And
Well, we'll go watch the after show where we break it down. But also,
that would help.
Tim gave us some insight into stuff that happens in the episode, which is great. Also, that episode has a lot of narration from other characters, which was nice to talk about that in the process. Also, he mentioned that moment too of the two Davids talking. And then what was something else about it that was interesting? Side note, he is the voice of the Shadow King. And he
That's
did the
cool.
voice, like when he's like
when he's like
back.
the big fat monster.
Yeah.
Like he did
Yay,
the voice
I
and
like that
like
one.
did it on the episode, which is great. Also talked that apparently Farouk can't speak French very well, and so they'd have to go over it and be like making sure he could say French with a better accent. He's
That's
like,
interesting.
He can speak multiple languages, great, but
Just
apparently
not
his
French.
French accent is a little bit off.
That's actually very
So
interesting.
is
you should
cute.
go watch the after show. It's really nice to hear his perspective and just the process of the show making and everything like that. I mean, he's in a very particular department.
Well,
but
sounds such
still.
a big part of that
on
show.
the yes, because especially you got a crazy person, you got to hear inside his head.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the production of the show is so amazing that even when it frustrates, and this wasn't a particularly frustrating episode, it was just one where I just wanted more to happen. But
Fukuyama history. That was
yeah, that actually I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we got in this episode. But I'll be happier probably next week.
You know what, though, Amy? I totally get what you mean, though. There are certain times, or if you want to watch a show where it's not as, like, you don't want to have to rack your brain when you're watching. It depends on what mood you're in, too. Of, like, you know, are you in a mood to sit and I'm like, I need to analyze this to pay attention, or is it I just want to veg out and watch something fun?
Exactly. And it's not even so much of how confusing it is sometimes. It's like, do I feel personally attached to all these characters? Not necessarily. No. And that's just me, and that's
I
fine.
don't feel hugely attached to most of them.
Yeah, especially when, you know, there was.
We got the weird
Shield.
Minotaur thing back, too.
Yeah.
I see what your point is, though.
Carrie loves it. That's
so
great.
excited.
No.
I'm so happy that you love it.
It doesn't really feel like a superhero show. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like
It's very
a comic
different.
book. If
Yeah.
you didn't know, a lot of people who watch it probably wouldn't even know it was a comic book series. You know, if they were like in their, you know, like never had read comics and they just stumbled upon it. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is neat. Like,
Yeah. Super side note, but kind of cool tangent. You mentioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. On the Expanse After Show today, we had a gentleman call in, Bruce, I think it's Bruce Pittman, and he works with NASA or an outer space program. I'm totally blanking on it right now. Well, actually colonizing in outer space. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of his other favorite sci-fi science fiction shows.
Well, see, there you go. Obviously, good taste while colonizing the universe.
You know?
That's good to know.
Much
Besides the
like
Expanse.
Anthony in the
Yeah.
booth, I feel like he'd agree with me. Anyway, well, we will talk
Agreed.
more about Legion in the next few
Yes.
weeks. There's 3 more episodes because they got the extra episode, so
Yes.
there will be 3
9,
more.
10, and 11.
And it'll be interesting to see the way it all ties up, and it'll probably be another hugely frustrating cliffhanger kind of ending. But anyway, we'll worry about that in 3 weeks. And we will also talk more about Cloak and Dagger in the weeks ahead. And I know Amy's already seen 4 of them, but
4.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
exactly. But anyway, we only have a little bit more time left, and because it is Michael's last show, I said, "What would you like to talk about?"
Yeah,
this
I
week?"
really liked that you asked that.
Yeah.
Aw.
And then your answer was something that I felt comfortable with, so I decided to go with it. If you pick something crazy, I'd be like, all right, well, we can't do that, but thanks for letting us. No, of course. I wanted you to pick a topic, and it ties into something that you'll be keeping an eye on for us from afar, and you'll Skype in working this beat. So talk a little bit about it. Set up the topic.
When you asked me this, my first thought was like games, Marvel games, video games, board games, apps, like everything. And that got me thinking even more. Video games are TV. That it's like an extension of, you know, all this. It's like making your own comic book. And I think that's something we should be working into our show, because Marvel TV, you mean Marvel TV games, they're played on TV. So, and Amy last night got to play one of her first Marvel games, which was super fun. What did you think about that? Like, as
Well,
a
explain
first
what the
time?
game was, too.
Yes. Okay, so it's Marvel versus Capcom
3.
3 is what we played. That is what happened. It was fun. I obviously am only aware and familiar with the Marvel characters. The Capcom, I was like,
Yeah,
You do the arcade games? It's after
The-
your time.
the rule for last night was those of us on the panel, the 3 of us that were there, could only use Marvel characters.
Yes.
Now, other people in the room that aren't on the panel, although actually Anthony was there
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
and we're like, no, you're on the panel, but he used Capcom characters because he wanted to be difficult. But
After
whatever.
you told me.
That's true.
After you told me.
But you paid for pizza and it was delicious, so we were willing to let that slide.
These were
And
super cool
yes,
when they
so
came
anyway,
out.
so that's what it was, and we got to see some of the characters. So your thoughts on playing the game?
Yeah.
It was interesting because you only get to pick if you've never played before. If you're like one of the few of us that we've never played before, you only get to choose one character. So that was fun, and then the other person chooses the other one. Then you just kind of fight it out, and it was fun. It was very hard to play, just pressing all the buttons and the
That's all I
other
did.
ones.
Yep.
Just like
Yeah.
but it was fun because it's like you're playing as them, so you're kind of a superhero.
Yeah. For me, I've always been so much about the mythology, and when you know the characters, you can really like have fun in your own world with the video games, and that's why I wanted to talk about video games tonight. Should I just start with my
Yes, we want to get your
Okay.
favorites in before we run out of time. That's the important thing.
So the most current game that I really love is the Wii Marvel Superhero Squad game. I'm so old school. I haven't updated to a Wii U or a Click, but I love this game. If you guys out there haven't played it, it's probably the most like Super Smash Brothers Brawl. You get to pick, you get to run around, jump around, like interactive, like very 3D environments. Super fun. You can pick from like X-Men, Avengers. It's very cute to look at too. Very kawaii the way they're drawn. I know a lot of people don't really love the Marvel Superhero Squad show, but I think it's a super fun game. I'm guessing you guys probably haven't played that one before, have you?
I have not played that one. Stardrew in the chat says that they have that game.
I've unlocked all the hidden characters. That game actually has a lot of hidden characters, and they're pretty easy to unlock.
Who's your favorite hidden character? Or a favorite?
Aww.
Oh,
that's
that's
adorable.
hard. Maybe like Hawkeye?
Oh, I know you love you
He's
some
pretty
Hawkeye.
good.
Yeah.
I do love Hawkeye. And you can be Invisible Girl, who's pretty cool. But she's not a hidden character. But moving on, because we have so many games I want to talk about. I love them all. A game that's very tied closely to sorry, Tony's going through all kinds of stuff. It's very tied closely to Marvel vs. Capcom. Was X-Men Children of the Atom. And that game was a game that introduced the X-Men as like a fighting team, like in a Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter style. And over the years, they took these characters straight out of that game and put them in the first Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So if you've ever played as one of the X-Men characters in either of those games, you've played the exact characters that are in the Children of the Atom game. I played it a lot in the arcade when I was a kid. Arcade games were like really big for me. You can see on the screen
I mean,
now.
if you're watching on the screen right now, you see Wolverine and the Silver Samurai, which I could watch this all day because I love the Silver Samurai. So this is great.
Really fun game to watch. The rules are pretty much just like Marvel vs. Capcom. So you just hit all the buttons really hard and all kinds of great stuff happens. A great beginner game that I really love. And step away from the X-Men for a little bit. Gonna bring it back.
If we must.
Way deep. Back to the 90s. Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Captain America and the Avengers. This was really my first experience with the Avengers team, other than what I had like read and like on my comic book cards. I hadn't really like collected Avengers comics very much. And this game is so great. You can play as Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and Vision in his solid white outfit.
I like that look for Vision.
That was the first way I'd ever seen him. So when I saw the older version, which is what is used now in the Marvel
the red and
Cinematic.
green Christmas colored Vision is the traditional one. But yeah, well, I don't want to get into the story. But the white Vision is a very specific point in time.
Yes. And it's a really fun game. It's a side-scrolling game. You can play with up to 4 players, so you can have all of your Avengers.
Look at Hawkeye there.
Yeah.
He looks great.
Yeah, you can have all, like if you have 4 friends, you can all be playing and fighting these guys. It's very much, I guess you would say, akin to our next game, the X-Men Konami arcade game, which was released in either 1992 or 1993. It was released in several different formats. There's 2-player. It's not what is on the screen right now. The arcade game is what we're talking about.
And I would remember playing it as a 4-player.
Right.
You know, it's at a time when this was kind of common. There's also a Simpsons game that's a 4-player like this, and a Ninja Turtles game.
Yes.
All 3 of which
the
you can play.
Rampage game you could have.
Yeah, that's true. And all of which you can play. There's a retro arcade in Pasadena, and they have all these games.
Really?
Yes.
A really great side note to that, if you have, this is the 6-player cabinet where you can be every single player. I don't particularly like this one because the screen is really wide, and that's before they had made widescreen TVs. So what you're actually looking at is 2 screens. One is a screen and another one is a projector. So when a character walks across the middle part of the screen, where the two meet up, they get really wide for a second. It's really weird. It's like a video glitch. So I never really enjoyed the 6-player, although it is so big. It's so huge. The game's probably almost as big as this table we're at. It's just giant.
Oh my gosh.
I own personally the 4-player cabinet, which goes back to what you were saying about the Ninja Turtles and the Simpsons game. It's the exact setup and format, same button, game controller, play. So if you actually were to go in and buy like the little card, or not really a little card, but you could take it out of the arcade machine, put in the Ninja Turtles, it would work just perfectly with that cabinet.
Let me interject just for a moment, because I love the team in this version of it, because it's like basically the late 80s team. One, you have the brown Wolverine, you have Dazzler, you have Kitty Pryde, you have Nightcrawler. I think Kitty Pryde's there, right? Yeah,
she is the one you were trying to
but you don't
save
play
the
her.
whole
That's what it
game.
is,
Yeah.
So this is basically the Pride of the X-Men video game. You know, this would have tied into that series if it had gone. And it has non-Mohawk Storm, but I'll allow it. And yeah, this is great, because I love who's on this game, and I'll play it whenever I see it, actually, except for I didn't ever get to play Michael's at his house.
You're too busy being a dad.
It's true.
We beat it.
Tony's played it with me and we've beaten it.
Beat it.
Nice.
It's got,
So you rescued Kitty.
we did.
So glad.
Yep.
Colossus was super happy.
Yeah, so they can
Colossus
get married.
married her. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
But for me, my favorite character in this game is Dazzler.
Love
Her
Dazzler.
superpower, just pretty much whenever she throws the big bomb, like plasma bomb or whatever, and it just wipes out anyone on your screen.
Nice.
Really, really fun game. Probably my favorite Marvel game of all time. And although it's not a TV-based game, I want to go to our final game, which is a game that I have in my personal collection called the Uncanny X-Men Alert Adventure Game. It's actually a board game, and it comes with so many pieces. I don't know if it's like crazier than Monopoly. As you can see, there are
Wow.
all those characters you can choose from. So you can
That's
1, 2,
awesome.
3, 4, 5, 6 times 18 characters you can choose from, not just like a shoe and a hat and a boot like with Monopoly. This is like all out cool. We actually have a closer up picture of those figures.
Nice.
They're silver, really, really fun, really lightweight, really pretty to look at. Just a really fun collector's item. I guess if you got all 18 of your friends, you could probably play this game for like a month straight.
Do you decorate?
Do you like paint them or
characters?
anything?
Yeah,
or
do
you
they
just-
get painted or they
I've
stay plain?
seen collectors selling ones like that where they have painted them. I personally like that chrome looking plastic, but there just a side note, there was a game that came after that, very much inspired by this game called X-Men Under Siege, where they released a bunch of characters like this. You didn't have quite as many. There were probably like 12, but they were shown as painted. So I'm assuming that Marvel thought that people would probably like the painted versions better. So in the second game, the figures actually are in color. And Havoc's one of those, but
And you do love you some
I
Havoc.
love them. Yeah.
Well, thank you for covering all those great games. A lot of those seem like fun. And Anthony, I know we only have a couple minutes, but I do feel like I need to share the gameplay and the commercial for the game that I researched, which I did send to you. And this is the Atari 2600 Spider-Man game. And it, well, because I'm old, I didn't own this game, but I had a neighbor who had it, and so I would play it, and I loved Spider-Man so much, and this is what video games looked like. So you just were excited, and when you see it, you'll all probably laugh. But it's all right. I was excited that I could play Spider-Man, and there were a lot of Atari 2600 games that I loved. Let me ask, Anthony, were you able to bring it up, or because I didn't know if I should...
This is the commercial.
Okay, so let's see the commercial first, and then we'll see the gameplay. Can you bring the audio, or will we run into problems with the audio?
No, it's fine.
Okay,
It's
so
so
let's-
old.
Yeah, this is old. So this is amazing. This is what I remember more than the game itself. So let's check out. It's great for those watching on YouTube, but for those listening, you'll also get to really experience the commercial for the Atari 2600 Spider-Man game. Roll it.
I'll blow this town to smithereens. Time bombs. Try
This
to
is
get up there
terrifying.
in time, Spider-Man. Watch me cut my web, Goblin. Watch yourself fall, Silk Slinger. Gotta stop the bombs in time. If I don't get you, webhead, my diagnoses will. Holy Hannah, you're running out of fluid. Is this more action than even Spider-Man can handle? Spider-Man, a video game from Parker Brothers, the ones to
We all
beat.
like have the same.
The
The
answer is no, Spider-Man. It is not more action than even you can handle.
That
And
is
then,
amazing.
Just while I continue talking and when I
Wow.
wrap up, Anthony, if you could show the gameplay. Thank you for showing that commercial. That terrifying Green Goblin, I remember. He's great.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
That actor, man, commitment.
That's some like Jim Henson like Ninja Turtle stuff.
Yeah, it's not Willem Dafoe, all right. But I always love that, and that's the thing too.
Wow.
Is like I got to see Spider-Man on TV interacting with the Green Goblin, but you see the game itself. Look, this was high tech. The fact that he could swing and he was the right colors. That's really all we really we were excited about.
Yeah.
So this to me is one of the only video games, Marvel video games I ever owned. I loved the X-Men game we're talking about in the arcade. And there were some other arcade games, but this is where it's at for me. Is the Atari 2660? Look, there's a Green Goblin right there up
You
at the
just
top.
gotta
of the
make
screen.
sure you
This
don't
looks
run out
like
of
a
web
very
fluid.
long
Yeah.
and tedious game. Like just get
Oh.
up, get up.
Got a
go, go,
Donkey
go,
Kong,
go.
Well, I'm glad
like-
you mentioned
Yes.
that because Atari 2600 games, basically you just kept playing. I mean,
Yeah.
there were like levels to beat and things, but no, there wasn't a whole story where you tried to have an objective.
That's what the commercial was for.
Right, the commercial was, and the most infamous Atari 2600 game is the ET game, and there's a documentary about it. It's also-
What?
The landfill.
Yeah, and I had that game. That game I owned. I got it for Christmas, and it didn't make any sense. Spider-Man was at least fun, but you know what else has been fun? That's right, great transition. Having all these many months with our friend Michael X Shirley, who's been with us. And Michael, you said you'll still be around, even though the time difference and the East Coast.
I'm gonna be keeping my eye on you.
You'll still have you'll have a couple of rock stars, and then you can Skype with us every once in a while. And you know when the Gifted comes back, you're gonna have to be on more often.
Oh, corn muffins.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers of this show in parting?
Oh my gosh, I love Marvel Comics. It's probably my favorite American franchise. Is probably Marvel. I just enjoyed being able to nerd out with you guys and talk about all my favorite stuff. I'm so excited I was able to play with you for your first time playing a Marvel game. Carrie, do you have a game that you like a lot?
I do remember the Marvel Capcom one.
You
I'm
like-
trying to
that
think.
one was really
That one was
fun.
really, I don't remember which one I played, but I do know I like that one. I don't remember a specific Marvel one. I remember Ninja Turtles. I had the Ninja Turtles Sega one, but I feel I had was there ever an X-Men like Sega game?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
there were
I
several.
think I might have had one of those too.
Well, I'm going to be keeping you guys all up to date on new video games coming out
Yay.
from
Awesome.
Marvel franchises.
Oh, that new one. What's that new one that's coming out there?
Strike Force.
Yes.
Strike Force. We were watching the commercial for that. So
Yeah.
I'll be that's going to be on the apps, in the App Store, but
Yeah.
that's TV. So
Yeah.
I'll test everything out for you guys and let you know
Please
how it
do.
goes. And before I go,
Oh!
I wanted to give you all a little parting gift because when I was
Please
packing
do.
up, found lots of cool doubles in my collection. And for you, Christian, I have the Generation X.
Oh yes, the holiday special. You know what? I have a lot of
Oh.
Generation X. I know I don't have this one, so this is great.
And my favorite non-Marvel team, Gen 13, meets the Fantastic Four.
Awesome.
A
Very
great
exciting.
crossover.
That's pretty.
for
I'll
you.
hold these up for those watching on YouTube.
Nice.
And
if
for
not, you can Google
Amy,
them.
I have for you Generation X2, which is the first one with their full team with Penance, who's a great character, which I think you'll love. And I know how much you adore Spider-Man.
Yes.
So we've got a Gen 13 meets Spider-Man comic for you. It's a one-shot, so
Nice.
reading this, you'll get the full story.
Oh my! Wow, that's really pretty too.
And for you, Carrie, I have this copy of Generation
Oh,
X.
wow.
I thought was really fun that I thought you
That's
would like.
cool.
Has Emma Frost on the cover.
This is nightmare.
And a Gen 13 Monkey Man O'Brien comic book
Ooh.
that's very fun.
That looks
And you
very
know I didn't
fun.
forget about you, Tony. I've got you a Generation X
Yay.
annual and Gen 13 meets the max, which is some artwork I think you're really gonna love.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you so much.
all
man.
of you. I wish this episode could go on for like 30 more minutes. I know it can't though. I'm really, really excited to keep watching you guys and see who you can find to replace me. I'm gonna be
I don't
watching.
know if it's
Nobody.
possible.
Yeah, I don't know how
Nobody
you're
can
gonna do that.
ABK88 in the chat says apparently you're X-Men Santa, LOL, and says thank you. And it's apparently 2:30 in the morning on the East Coast, but wanted to say thank you, and they look forward to your Skype ins. And Sky Patterson says thank you, Michael, aka Firehead Rapunzel.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I just love all you fans. Thank you for talking about all this stuff with me. I really am genuinely interested, and especially your casting choices. I love talking about that stuff. But thank you for everything. I just love AfterBuzz. I love you guys, and definitely my favorite after show I've done here at the
Well,
network.
it's been a pleasure having you with us. You've been through several different iterations of this show. You've been so
OG.
now I'm the only one left, but that's all right. I'm so glad that we're all going to be able
Gangster.
to. And keep us honest, keep watching, and people want to keep in touch with Michael Shirley. Where do they find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Michael X Shirley, and you can shop my men's clothing line pretty soon, probably at the beginning of July into June, at lovemichaelshirley.com.
Wait, everybody, look at the wide shot. Now say your name again, Michael.
My name is Michael Shirley, and I'm an alcoholic.
No, Michael. Michael X.
Oh, right, Michael.
How do people? Yeah, where do people?
X
Shirley.
Shirley on Twitter and Instagram, and ilovemichaelshirley.com.
Ayo.
And Amy, Cassandra Martinez, this past week was a very special guest on the Deadpool 2 episode of the Bladt Cast,
Yep.
which you can find at bladtcast.com. And where else can people find you?
All social media at Amy Cassandra MTZ.
And Kari Lane, where do people find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KaridLane.
And I'm at Christian DMZ. We will see you, including Michael, who'll be watching from elsewhere. We will see you all next time. Until then, Excelsior!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
We love you, Michael.
Views expressed herein are those of the host only. Do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or